By day, he was a good grandson in his grandmother's eyes, but at night, he was out stealing. Stealing a motorcycle took him only 30 seconds. He rode the motorcycle to the mall, hid inside a display tent just before the lights went out, and quietly noted down the security guard's patrol times from his cramped hiding spot. Only when he was sure the guard wouldn't return did he quickly take a heater. The reason Hector did all of this was simply to warm up his sick grandmother, who shivered from the cold on her hospital bed. But when his older brother found out, he took his younger brother to court. This was already the 8th time Hector had broken the law. 17-year-old Hector didn't realize that his actions had seriously violated the law. But because he was still a minor, the judge only sentenced him to 2 years in juvenile detention, and gave him a book on criminal law, hoping he would read it carefully and learn right from wrong. During his time in juvenile detention, Hector studied criminal law diligently every day, but his reclusive personality was like an invisible chain. The taunts and bullying from the boy in the next bed followed him everywhere. One day, while eating in the cafeteria, Hector was once again humiliated and mocked by the bullies. Although he chose to endure it once more, their harassment didn't stop. In class, Hector discovered that his precious criminal law book had been torn apart. Silently, he went downstairs to pick up the torn pieces, then brought them back to his room, suppressing his anger. Beneath his calm exterior, resentment simmered. So that day during work, while the instructor wasn't looking, Hector secretly sawed off a wooden stake, sharpened one end, and carved the number 20 on it. When everyone was out for activities, Hector taped up his sandals, grabbed the stake, and walked furiously toward the yard. Everyone thought he was going to teach the bully a lesson, but instead, he ran straight for the fence, and escaped from the detention center in front of everyone's eyes. This was already his 20th escape attempt. Along his escape route, the stakes he had left behind kept appearing, but after running for a long time, Hector was once again blocked by the guards who had been waiting for him. He still hadn't broken his record. Helpless, he stuck the stake into the ground. Hector was taken back, but inside, he felt nothing. He was put in solitary confinement, and asked the instructor for 10 rolls of tape. Now he could quietly piece together his torn criminal law book, but no one expected that a group of stray dogs would unexpectedly change Hector's autistic and stubborn heart. To help Hector overcome his social difficulties, an instructor told him that one dog hadn't been adopted yet. Trying to convince him to start with dog training, Hector instinctively refused, but when he saw the dog looking at him with wet eyes, his lonely heart couldn't help but stir. He finally agreed. At first, the dog was as cold to him as a stone. It never responded when he offered food, but even so, Hector didn't give up. He patiently bathed the dog, trimmed its nails, and even borrowed books to study dog training seriously. In his free time, he made biscuits the dog liked. As time went by, two lonely souls gradually grew closer, healing each other's wounded hearts. Even when the bully taunted him for no reason, Hector ignored it completely, devoting all his energy to training the dog. And so, two beings from different species became inseparable friends. All Hector had to do was whistle, and the dog would immediately come running, its eyes full of trust and joy. Until one day, Hector whistled as usual, but the dog didn't come. Anxiously, he went to check the cage, and found that his dog had been adopted the day before. Though the instructor explained repeatedly that strays had never belonged to anyone, the words fell on Hector like a bucket of cold water. He had already come to see the dog as an irreplaceable part of his family. At that moment, he felt betrayed. Consumed by rage, he tore up the dog training books. Without the dog's company, his world dimmed once again, so Hector resolved to escape once more. He frantically stomped through a wooden board, taped his sandals tightly, strapped his criminal law book to his waist, and ignoring the instructor's pleas, ran at full speed toward the fence. When he saw the guards waiting for him as usual, Hector didn't hesitate this time. He threw away the piece of wood and suddenly changed direction. He ultimately escaped successfully. It turned out the previous 20 stakes had just been a decoy. Meanwhile, the instructor quickly notified Hector's older brother. In a few days, Hector would turn 18. If they didn't bring him back in time, or if he got into trouble outside, the consequence would no longer be juvenile detention. He would be sent to a real prison. The kind-hearted instructor didn't want Hector to end up like that. His brother kept thinking of the places Hector might go. Sure enough, when he arrived at the hospital where their grandmother was staying, Hector was curled up under her bed. Though his brother scolded him harshly, Hector's face remained defiant. His brother wanted him to return to the detention center, but no matter how much he tried to persuade him, Hector stubbornly insisted on finding the dog first. Seeing that his brother wouldn't listen to reason, his older brother reluctantly went along with him. But what he didn't expect was that Hector insisted on taking their grandmother along, while hiding under her bed. He had clearly heard the doctor say she didn't have much time left, and that her wish was to be buried next to their grandfather. He didn't want her to leave with regrets. He wanted to accompany her until the end. His brother thought it was outrageous, but he didn't know that Hector had already prepared everything. If they voluntarily requested her discharge, they could take a wheelchair, an oxygen tank, and blood oxygen supplies. Just in case, he had also stolen some sedatives to ease their grandmother's pain. But seeing that his brother had done something illegal again, his older brother took all the blame on himself, and warned him that before returning to the detention center, he couldn't commit any more crimes. Soon, they officially set off on the journey to find the dog. However, as soon as Hector had settled their grandmother, he noticed signs of life in the camper van. Being clever, he realized that his brother must have been dumped by his girlfriend. But no matter how much Hector pressed, his brother lied, saying he was just staying out for a while. They arrived at a small town's pet rescue center. His brother told Hector to stay in the van, while he went in to explain the situation to the staff. But adoption information was private. No matter how sincerely his brother spoke, he couldn't get any information. Just as he was about to leave, the manager stepped outside to take a phone call. His brother snuck into the office and stole the adoption records. But when he returned, Hector was gone from the van. It turned out that while his brother was away, Hector had snuck into the shelter looking for the dog, but instead found a different, disabled dog. His brother couldn't understand why. Hector calmly explained his plan. He would find his own dog, then claim the shelter had made a mistake, and exchange dogs with the adopter. He had chosen a disabled dog because he thought it would be the hardest for anyone to adopt. He wanted to give this poor dog a chance to receive more love and care.
You didn't steal that dog, okay? It was me. I stole the dog and the folder. You got that?
I got it.
Soon, they had narrowed it down to 3 adoptive families, but just as they were about to leave, his brother realized his wallet was missing, and the camper van was almost out of gas. His brother asked the gas station owner if they could leave the dog as collateral and pay when they came back with the wallet, but the owner refused. As he was walking back to the van, defeated, he found it full of supplies. Seeing that his brother had stolen again, the older brother exploded in anger, but in the end, he had to swallow his fury, telling Hector that he hadn't stolen the things. Taking the blame on himself once more, they went to the first adopter's address. To avoid alerting anyone, Hector had his brother boost him up, while he climbed the wall to observe. When the familiar whistle rang out, the yard became lively, but unfortunately, it wasn't the dog Hector was looking for. Deep disappointment washed over him. He could only pin his hopes on the next family. Early the next morning, Hector tenderly gave medicine to his grandmother, carefully brushing her hair. His movements were clumsy but full of love. After taking care of her, he even made a warm breakfast for the dog, as if it were an indispensable part of the family. Then they hurried to the second family. On the way, Hector asked again about his brother's girlfriend. He wanted his brother to call her, but he refused. Hector could tell his brother was unhappy, because whenever he was in a bad mood, he bit his fingernails. Embarrassed at being found out, his brother was a bit flustered.
Don't stick your nose in other people's business.
Don't worry, I won't do it again.
Soon they arrived, but again, disappointment. This wasn't the dog they were looking for, and after looking carefully, Hector noticed the dog's health was already very poor. He hoped the owner would take it to the vet in time, but the man refused, saying he simply couldn't afford it. Hector gritted his teeth and pulled his brother's lost wallet from his pocket, gave the owner some money for the dog's medical treatment. Afterward, his brother wasn't happy with what he'd done. That had been all their savings, and their grandmother's condition suddenly worsened. The brothers had no choice but to interrupt their search for the dog. They had to get back to their hometown quickly, to avoid missing the proper burial time for their grandmother. A village priest said prayers and performed a blessing for the elderly woman. Then they went to their grandfather's grave, only to find it already dug open. From the priest, they learned that burial plots were very scarce, because they hadn't paid the renewal fee. The ashes had been removed, and the plot had already been bought by their cousin. Hearing this, his brother flew into a rage, immediately confronting their cousin, begging him to give back their grandfather's grave, but he was ruthlessly turned down. The cousin said the plot had already been given to his father-in-law. Furious but helpless, his brother went to a bar to drown his sorrows. There, he overheard something exciting. Their cousin owned a cow that was the national milk production champion, and the asking price had reached 60,000 euros. An idea formed in his mind: steal the cow, sell it, and use the money to buy a decent burial plot. When Hector learned of his brother's plan, he immediately tried to stop him. Having studied criminal law so thoroughly in juvenile detention, Hector knew this would likely land his brother in prison, but his brother was completely blinded by family loyalty. For the sake of their grandparents having a proper resting place, that night he snuck into the farm and began to act. When he saw a herd of identical cows, he was at a loss. Meanwhile, Hector saw the phone his brother had left behind, and finally discovered the secret of his breakup. His brother had been trying to win back his girlfriend, only to be coldly rejected. Then Hector went to meet his brother. He knew that a special cow like this wouldn't be kept with the ordinary ones. Sure enough, after some searching, they found a cow enjoying a private stall. But just as his brother urged him to pick the lock, Hector took the opportunity to press him about the breakup. With the situation urgent, his brother finally told the truth. His girlfriend was unexpectedly pregnant and wanted to keep the baby, but he didn't think it was the right move. He wasn't ready. They had fought. After getting the answer he wanted, Hector easily opened the lock with a piece of metal, but as soon as they brought the cow back, they found their cousin already waiting at the camper van. They thought he had come to confront them about the stolen cow, but instead, their cousin said, ashamed, that he had only come to see their grandmother one last time, and also to apologize. His father-in-law had cancer and didn't have long left. He had been forced into it by his wife. That was why he had bought the grave, but he had already found another plot for their grandparents. It wasn't as nice, but it was still a decent resting place. Just when they thought the matter was settled, the cow broke free and ran in front of the van. Seeing this, their cousin felt betrayed, so he changed the plot he had arranged to the cheapest one available. They laid their grandfather's ashes to rest, but by then, their grandmother's condition had miraculously improved. She didn't look like she was dying at all, and there was only one day left until Hector's 18th birthday. They could only continue their search for the dog, but on the way to the third potential potential adopter, Hector suddenly confessed something he had been keeping to himself. It turned out his dog was at the very first house they had visited. Angry, his brother asked why he hadn't said anything. He felt like his brother had just been playing him for a fool. After a simple "I'm sorry," Hector turned and walked away from the van. His brother watched his back, filled not only with anger but also with questions. Why did his brother do this? Was it just to escape juvenile detention? He went to his brother and asked patiently, hoping for a satisfying answer. Hector said that back then, his dog had been playing with other dogs, but that dog hadn't liked other dogs before because he was afraid of them. He always stayed by himself, and the same was true for Hector.
I didn't want this trip to end.
No matter where he was always the one being pushed aside. It was as if the world had no place for him. From the time he was small, he had always been the troublemaker in his brother's eyes. After his brother grew up and started dating, they rarely saw each other. This journey had brought them, who had been drifting apart, slowly closer. Night fell. His brother suddenly received a message from his girlfriend. It said, "Waiting for your return." His heart nearly stopped. He even wondered if he was hallucinating.
I just want to say that I got really scared when you told me you were pregnant. But not because I don't want a kid. It's because of Hector. I've been a father to my brother for 17 years and I've done a terrible job. So now, I'm telling you I can.
Seeing this, his brother realized that his little brother, whom he had always thought would never grow up, had become someone who could hold up hope for him like an adult. He brought out the 18th birthday present he had prepared for his brother, a pair of shoes. They had holes in the soles, but for Hector, who had always worn sandals, it was the most precious gift of all. Outside the juvenile detention center, Hector was reluctant to go in. His brother told him not to run away again or cause any more trouble, because after that day, he would be 18. If he made another mistake, they couldn't be brothers anymore. But even after hearing that, Hector still didn't want to go in, because after this, his brother wouldn't be there with him.
You're right, I won't. But your dog will.
Tadaparo is not my dog.
I don't mean Tadaparo.
And Sheep is fine where he's at.
I'm not talking about sheep either.
Hello, Hector.
From that moment on, the rift between them was gone forever. Just like when they were little, every time Hector was upset, his brother would stay by his side like a loyal dog, comforting him. Hector once believed that right and wrong could only be defined by the law, but now, he finally understood that there was another kind of answer.